Right, yeah, I'm going to begin. I mean, when all of you guys started this, I mean, not just yourself, but the actors, I mean, there's quite an experience casting crew in some regards, particularly, well, in sort of cinema, particularly at this kind of level. I was wondering about the differences now making this movie. Do you notice when you go onto set that everyone's just that little bit older, a bit wiser? I mean, did you get a sense for that sort of?
I don't see it. Maybe someone on the outside would notice it. But for me, it's like every day on set is like a new challenge that you think you know what you're getting into, and it never quite works. Of course, there's the past between us all. We all kind of like know each other really well, know how to push each other's buttons or whatever. But yeah, it's been quite a journey, I guess.
Because I mean, obviously, there was one of the challenges, I guess, was this kind of schedule today, where the film was supposed to come out sort of a year ago and it's coming out now. And I mean, the accident to Dylan was sort of a horrible kind of thing for him to go through. But in regards to the timing of this release now, it feels almost more timely because we're kind of in society, we're at this point where we're not really knocking down walls, we're sort of building them. And then that's very much a prevalent theme. I mean, do you feel this film has a real kind of, do you feel it's quite prevalent, pertinent, at the moment?
It sort of does oddly feel that way, doesn't it? It has some elements of what we're seeing in the world around us, but I think it's also a thing that we've seen throughout human history. So it's timeless at the same time as being timely. It's interesting.
The films have gone down so well in the past, and I was just wondering, when you first get involved in a project like this, and it's got a real kind of pre-established fan base sort of in line, that have their own kind of expectations of what it might be, because the first sort of two films went down so well, did that alleviate some of the pressure? Did it allow you to make more of a movie that you always wanted to make? You didn't have to worry about what the fans were going to kind of think, because you already had them on side in some ways.
No, definitely not. I mean, I heard it, especially in the second movie, I heard from the fans a lot. So they were mad at me about certain things. So I make these movies for the fans. If it weren't for the fans, we wouldn't have these movies to begin with. I mean, it was their support from that first movie, I think, that really kind of garnered the interest that we got and then kind of continued the success on. So almost all of our choices are focused on what those fans are, and this ending hopefully is something that they'll find satisfying as a goodbye and a farewell, to the stories and the characters that they've kind of loved for so long,
And how about striking that balance then, kind of appeasing, like you said, the fans who know this story and the characters sort of inside out, and attracting new people that are completely, they've never read a book before, well, not read a book, but never read one of the Maze Runner books before.
It's a hard line to walk, It's like we actually have more movie fans than we have book fans, right? So we have to make sure the movie operates on its own without sort of pre-existing knowledge. But of course, the book fans, we try to give them as much stuff in the movie that they can recognize as familiar, so that they understand that we're paying homage to that, so we're paying service to those ideas. But at the same time, I think an average moviegoer is going to have a great time with these movies too,
In regards to this schedule delay, I mean, what was happening in the kind of meantime while sort of while Dylan was injured and wasn't able to shoot? I mean, were you able to still work on other aspects of it? I mean, or was there just literally just a long pause where you had to just sort of?
Well, it's a couple of things actually. I'd go and work on some other projects. I have a couple of things kind of going on the side, but at the same time, it was also re-examining the script. We knew we were going to have to change locations. We had to look for new locations across the world and scout it across all the places where that movie might be able to take place. Ultimately, for us, it was Cape Town. And then third was, making sure Dylan was okay and was needed to be, he was in a good place mentally to kind of start this thing. So it was a lot of things, a lot of work still, even while we were kind of stopped on hiatus. There was still a lot of work to keep the train on the tracks,
I remember when you made the first movie, it felt quite. I mean, they put a lot of faith. I mean, it was your first kind of big movie, and I mean, it's a huge franchise to give to a sort of first time. And I mean, I'm just wondering about how much kind of how thankful you are, obviously, to the studio for putting that faith in you, and if as the sort of movies progressed, you found you had more and more freedom as it went along to make your own movies because they kind of realised, okay, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not lost on me the gift that the studio gave me to nobody basically give them this book series to go make. First, it was just the first movie for me. I thought it was all I was going to do. It was a cheap movie. It was a $30 million movie, so it wasn't a lot of risk. And they seemed to like what I had to say about it. So fortunately, it was a success. And I think you're right. As we kind of fostered our relationship between me and the studio and the other creatives on board, there is an element of trust and shorthand and the studio's always been great about giving us the freedom to kind of make the movie we want to make. We're always on the same page, and it's always about how do we make it the best version that we can with the resources that we have.
It's quite rare actually to see the same filmmaker make every film within a trilogy or in a franchise. These days it seems to change hands. But do you think this is sort of, in some way, some sort of proof that there is something to be said for that kind of tonal consistency that comes from using the same voice throughout sort of the whole trilogy?
I would hope so. You know, I mean, I look up to some of the people that I love that have done trilogies, you know, and there's not a lot of people, but it's like Spielberg and Peter Jackson, and you know, it's cool to be even loosely connected to those kind of caliber of people. But I think there is something to that kind of consistency of tone. It might even not be planned. It's just, you know, having it be from one person steering the thing one direction with multiple collaborators coming in. There hopefully is some kind of consistency to this thing that makes it feel like as a whole, you know, not just sequels.
And as a filmmaker, I mean, I was thinking about sort of Peter Jackson, how his movies, he needs big tools and big stories to tell stories. You know, it feels like he needs to kind of have these huge wells that he needs to create in order to get his kind of his stories across, I suppose. I was wondering, as a filmmaker, do you see yourself as one of those filmmakers who's always going to require kind of lots of effects and lots of big tools and universes to tell your stories, or will you one day move into more subtle kind of dramas or
yeah,
like
I mean, I've talked about it before, whereas I really love in these movies and things that surprised me when I first started was these little tiny intimate character scenes, which is really fun to do. And how do you shoot those and how do you make them interesting? It's really fun challenge, and I love that stuff. So yeah, one day I can see myself doing something very, very small, little character movie. But I gotta say, I still love world creation. I love escapist entertainment. I like movies to be on a big screen with a big audience and a big soundtrack and, you know, images that you've never seen before. So, you know, there's two sides of me there, you know, so we'll see which one wins out.
So just finally, what is next for you? Have you got anything in the pipeline that you're allowed to talk about?
Nothing in particular. There's a couple of things that have been reported, you know, a couple of things that are out there. That all those irons are in the fire. And for now, I'm just going to take a break. You know, I'm going to take a vacation for a little bit, spend some time with my family and recharge, and then figure out, you know, whatever might be next.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, dude.
Thank
yeah.
you. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey,